we're feeling a little more like it's possible for us to attain to wealth, and but we just don't know how to do it. Hi, welcome to my channel called The Colored J. I started this channel. I actually didn't know whether I wanted to do this about section. I'm not the typical social media type of person. I'm very inquisitive, and I like to look for solutions to problems, obviously on the internet and from people where I could. I've been looking for solutions that were sort of at least a little tailor-made for me, and I went on the internet, on YouTube, and Google, all these search engines to try and find the information that I needed, even books. And I found a lot of times for me, from my background, which is poverty, and now sort of venturing into the middle class socioeconomic group, it was often hard to find advice or suggestions that I could relate to. And by relate to, I meant it actually sounded like something that I could do. One of the areas especially that I found difficult to find information about was the area of finance, because obviously most of us now have moved, like I said, out of the socioeconomic class of poverty, and we're sort of in the middle class, where we're feeling a little more like it's possible for us to attain to wealth, and but we just don't know how to do it, because it seems like most people either were the Donald Trumps that already had a huge investment from their parents, or they were in a career like chartered accounting or medicine that just ended up paying them very well. So I wanted to know, what about the people like me and the people like my parents and the people like my siblings who might not have a good education? They don't have an investment, they don't even have savings or lots of money to start off. Because, for example, I would go online and I would find information about long-term investments, and the person would start off by saying, if you want to do a long-term investment and you have only 10,000 rand, and then already alarm bells are going off for me, because I'm thinking, is this the only starting point? And then you would go on further to say, if you start that investment, you should consider that 10,000 rand or that 20,000 rand lost, because you're never going to look at it again for the next 20 years, and because it is a long-term investment, and long-term investments are risky, so you could lose everything. And so that's at that stage, usually I already feel defeated, as I know most of you probably do, because most of us don't just have 10,000 rand lying around that we can just consider lost without feeling pain. And so I went about looking at, because I try to not be the person that just accepts that things are what they are, and there's no workaround. And I know from speaking to other people who come from a similar background as me, whether they were colored or not, but people who came from poverty, where your entire mindset and your everyday and your waking up in the morning is just survival. That's how our parents were. It was just, as long as I can get to work, as long as I'm not sick, as long as I'm able to buy some food and pay my debt, then I'm happy. And I speak to a lot of people now coming out of that, but not having the tools and not having had people, mentors to speak to. There are so many things that we just don't know, that other people know and take for granted. They just assume everybody knows. For example, I spoke to somebody, and this person said, I just don't understand why people don't tip. Nobody needs to teach you that. That's just something that you know. And I said, but that's not the case. Many people I never went to a restaurant with my parents once. So just knowing that you're supposed to tip is not something that just comes to you automatically. And that's just one of the myriads of examples that I've had, where people just assume that everybody else knows the tools to wealth. And so speaking to people who come from my background, you realize that they all have the same struggles, they all have the same questions, where they don't even know where to start, they don't know what to start with, what's the minimum amount that you could actually consider starting with in order to actually not just dream of, but consider the possibility that you could become wealthy from this. But when they go to the information out there and they don't find what they're looking for, they don't find, for example, somebody saying, can I invest with just 10 rand? Then they walk away. I don't know if people are ashamed to say that they only have 5 rand, 10 rand, or if it's just that they go in there already thinking there isn't something for me and the internet is just going to confirm it. But I find that a lot of people that I have spoken to, we could relate to each other. But at the same time, nobody was going out there actually putting out information on how to do it. I didn't see a face that I could relate to. I didn't see, it's either somebody who's already made it and made millions, and so you don't know the intricacies, the step-by-step things that they've done along the way, the mistakes that they've made along the way, because you basically just remember the pivotal moments, but those little bits in between that you don't get, that you don't see, because you don't want to see, I mean, you want the end to be a success, but you also want to see the struggles. I wanted to create this channel to shine a light on some of the unique challenges that we have as individuals coming from a poverty background, no longer poor, but not wealthy yet. But we're the ones that are coming out of it. We are the ones climbing. We are the ones trying to find solutions for us. As sometimes it might be that you're a woman, it might be that you're colored or colored woman, or anybody just coming from a poverty background, and you don't know anything about wealth. The most your parents spoke to maybe was about savings, and even then you knew they saved, and then they would say something like, there we go again, we need this or that, and then the savings go to that. So they always just saved for emergency savings. It was never a plan for wealth. So I want to talk about things like small little bits of things that I've tried, that I'm trying at the moment, to try to at least have something to look forward to. The things that I've had to use to try to build confidence, the books that I've read to help me, and how the steps that I've taken to try to be healthier, to get over depression and insomnia, and talk about family issues, talk about stereotypes around males and females that I still hear from the different regions in Africa and the world, about having a happy marriage, about getting an education, or what it means to become educated, and the materials that are out there to help you become educated in whatever field you want to progress, whether it's even for those people who they don't have the time or the money or the energy to study for something tertiary like a degree, but they just want to study enough to have the tools needed to succeed. And even things like hair issues. I mean, for me as a colored woman, we know hair is very important. So things like hair and skin, and all sorts of things that are just unique to us. So if you want to stay up to date with the material that I've been releasing, then you can click on subscribe and you'll get a notification to say that a new video has been uploaded. And please feel free to comment, feel free to even critique nicely, and feel free to leave any suggestions for any future videos that you would like to see, and then I'll see you in the next video.